Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm back for the hanger video, the how to crochet over a hanger video that I promised. And so the first thing I did was I did make the video on how to do the crocheted rows, and you can find that video right up here. And now let's move on to how to make the crocheted hanger. So here are a couple examples I've showed in other videos. This is the one I made to go with my country blue skirt. This is the one I made to go with my peaceful meadow skirt. And this is just an old one I did many years ago. I didn't like this yarn. Somebody gave it to me, and so I did several hangers with this just because I didn't really care what they look like. And it's still holding together great. It's funny that once you crochet over it, it seems like these cheesy plastic hangers seem to last longer. But let's get to this video, so I'm going to move the camera in closer so you can see what I'm doing. One reason why it's nice to crochet over your hangers is not just for the sake of looking pretty, but it just gives the hanger a little more paddedness, and it makes it really grip the clothes so they don't slip off there. Especially for things that tend to slip off really easily anyway, you know, button-down shirts or the skirts with the drawstring waist. I tend to like cinch up the drawstring pretty tightly, but still it can slip off these hangers easily. But having this, they'd never come off. And so it's a super easy process, and all you want to do is, and again, I want to recommend that you go check out my series on how to crochet, my Crochet 101 series, because you're going to need for this, all you need to know is how to make how to do your start and how to make a single crochet. But I'm going to go ahead and show you this real quick right here just to give you a place to start, but I recommend you go check out that first video. Now all you're going to do, you see how I'm holding this? You're just going to single crochet right around that hanger, and you're going to work your single crochets all the way around the hanger. Now if you want, I'm using a K hook. This is again one of the ones that Mr. Rain made for me, and I'll go ahead and again link to the video where it shows him making it right up there, because if nothing else it is pretty fascinating to watch. But you can go with an even bigger hook, or this size hook is good enough if you want to use double strand yarn. If you use a double strand, you'll get around it a little bit faster, and you'll have even more padding on your hanger. I'm just going to do just a single layer instead of doubling up on it. So anyway, you're just going to keep doing those single crochets all the way around, and occasionally you're going to want to pack that in tight. The tighter you get this, the better. It's going to take a while to get all the way around the hanger, but the tighter you have those stitches around there, the better. You can do it looser if you want, if you're just wanting the hold, but they will tend to, I had one that I was looking at, an old one that I did where I had the stitches a lot looser than this one, and you know, it slides around quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and continue working around this hanger, and the hardest parts are going around these corners, and I'll show you how I do that when I get to it. Okay, now I'm up to this little hook, and frankly I really don't even need this hook on here anymore because of how I'm using this, but I'm just going to skip right over it and keep crocheting. But if you decide you don't need that hook, just break it off if you've got one of those kind of hooks on there. But sometimes you'll have the ones that have a bar that comes down the middle. It's the same idea. Just work around the center of it. That little bar, or that little piece that connects the top to the bottom, just adds more stability to the hanger, especially if you're hanging jeans, and that's why it's there. So you may want to keep it, if it's the one that goes from here all the way down to here and connects, you may want to keep that there. Just go right over the top of it. No big deal. Okay, now as you get to this corner, you may find it easier to just go ahead and stabilize that hanger by holding it between your knees, and then just work Just keep working around that. That way you don't have the hanger flopping around like I did there on the table, which is normally not how I do it. But I'm trying to shoot this video outside for better lighting so you can see, and I'm not sure if it's helping. But anyway, this can be a little frustrating trying to work around this corner, but if you hold that, if you can kind of stabilize that hanger there, that's one way. And if you get into any really tight spots, what you can do is go ahead and if it just gets too frustrating, go ahead and move ahead to the straighter area like this, because then all you got to do is just keep pushing your stitches over, just like that. Just slide the stitches like that. Now you can see I'm trying to pack these in nice and tight. I want good tight stitches. But yeah, like I said, come over to the straighter area and kind of stretch for it. But the thing with that is it might make your stitches end up kind of baggy, like sort of like this. And then again, when you get to the bottom, you can stabilize it by putting the hook part of the hanger between your knees and holding it there. It is actually easier than letting it flop around. Okay, and then obviously the easiest part is, well, it's not really that easy working around this straight part, because then you got the hook kind of in your way. You're always trying to have to shift your arm position around and your hand position around as you move along the hanger. And that's probably the most challenging part about this. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and continue this on, and when I get to the end, when I get to here, I'll show you how I attach this, and I'll also put this on. Okay, so I'm back to the top of the hanger, and if you want, you can connect these just as is. I like to make sure I get lots of stitches right here at the top, but then I also will cross over back to the other side, which can be a little tricky working around that hanger there. Just to make it more sturdy. I just feel like it helps hold it all together a little bit better if I have the last few stitches coming from this side. And then I don't worry too much about, since I'm going to cover this up with a flower, even though with this one isn't so bad, even though it's old and beat up, I don't worry too much about how this looks. And depending on what you want, you may want to throw even more stitches in there to just to make that look a little bit better. And then I'm going to slip stitch to the first single crochet made. Where are my scissors? There. Okay, and then I can cut my yarn, and I like to pull that through that way and then just tighten it all up. And I always tie knots. I remember the first how to crochet book I read said never use knots. Well, I always do. I always use knots. And then, because when I started doing it just using the needle and weaving the ends back in, it just seemed like I had things that wanted to come apart, come unraveled, and especially if I was going to make things to put in auctions or to sell or to give to people. It was one thing if my stuff came unraveled, things I made for myself, because I could just fix it. But with somebody else's, I didn't want to have to worry about that. But anyway, so when I work in my ends, another thing that I do, I don't know if it's different from anyone else, I never read about it, it's just the way they do it, is I always use a smaller hook. I don't like using the needle, the big crochet needle, the yarn needle. I'd rather do it this way. I use a smaller hook than whatever it was I crocheted with, and then I just basically make a bunch of slip stitches with the ends and pull them through every time, here and there. I'll do a few, at least one, and then I may still tie another knot, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to come back to this side over here, bringing this under, because I'm all about things being secure. And I don't care if tying knots breaks a rule. I'd rather have it be secure. I've had afghans made by other people that did the old-fashioned weave-in method, and that, not just crocheted but knitted ones that over time those ends will work out and it will start to unravel. I just don't want that happening. Again, especially for anything I'm going to make for someone else. Now what you want to do is decide what side you want your flower on. I wasn't paying attention and did this one on a different side. I did this one. But the way I'm going to hang these in here, I was thinking about it when I did this one, I'll be more apt to see the flower from this side than from this side. So if I hang it this way, I'm just going to see the ugly side. But it doesn't really matter. What you can also do is do another flower and put it on the back side to cover up this mess here. But I'm just doing the one, and so since I like it hanging this way better, I'm going to put the rose right there on that side. So this is why I wanted to leave some ends here. Now and if you didn't see the video on how I make the rose, go ahead and check that out. I'll link to it in the corner there. Now what I like to do is make sure that I have these two ends evenly placed. So I'm going to have them, I want them right towards the center, but one on each side. So I'm going to bring this yarn simply by weaving it through using this smaller crochet hook, bringing this end, oops, slipping out, right down there, and that's a good place for that to be. And then you can just tie it in place. Oops, let's get it on the right side. Which is what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it in place first, and then I'm going to take my ends and I'm going to crochet them into the back side like I did with the ends of the green yarn. I'm trying not to pull that too tight initially because it's going to cause the rose to sort of fold over, and I don't want it to fold over very much. Okay, and then I just take the ends, and you can take your ends and you can hide them all under here. It just, again, it really depends. Okay, now what I want to do, and this is again another one of the things that's up to you, is just to make this be a little more stable on there, I'm going to bring this yarn and hook it through one of those post stitches and then tie it again. That's just going to make it real stable, and now I'm going to pull it tight. Okay, the best thing to do to make this, besides making another flower to hide this backside, is, and you could also just attach it here. Again, I'm all about things being very secure. I'd rather wrap it around the whole hanger. But if you attach the rose only from this side just to the yarn, then you can work it back in and you won't be able to see any of this stuff back here. But making another flower, if it's important, just make another flower and cover it up. But either way, you can take your ends. They're going to show the least if you work them back into the flower itself, because obviously they're the same color. And so just wherever you can work those in, I always try to find the tightest grouping of stitches. So obviously once I get it in there like that, I like to do that little slip stitch, crocheting it into place to make it more secure before I hide my ends in. So I just find any piece of yarn, take my hook and go through there, and then just work a slip stitch and pull that through, and that's going to make it, that's going to keep that yarn from slipping out. Now you can work in your ends. And again, I like to find a grouping of stitches like I have right here, and just pull it through under a whole bunch of those, and then I pull it like that, then I snip off that end just like that. Okay, and now I'll do the same thing with this other side. Now I'll go ahead and work that down into this bottom piece here, do my little slip stitch to secure it, keep it from going anywhere, and then work it into this petal here into the back side. And you can go across as many stitches as you want that you feel good about. I usually will go across the whole, if it's something like this, I'll just go ahead and go across all those stitches. And I'm going between the stitches, making sure I'm not going to the front side over here. because otherwise you'll see that funny piece of yarn going across there that doesn't really make sense. It won't be that obvious because of the color, but yeah. And again, this is another one of the hooks that Mr. Rain, he's made me 4 different sizes. This is the G. This is the smallest he'll go for the wooden ones, because you can't really get much smaller than that, and then you have to worry, you got to be concerned about breaking. Though this is a good hard wood. I don't remember which one, if that was the maple or if that was that mountain mahogany. I was thinking he made at least 1 or 2 amount of the mountain mahogany, which is a good, just beautiful and hard wood. Okay, so there you have it. There's the completed hanger, the dark green with the rose on the front, and pretty easy. It's you know, if you know how to do a single crochet, you can do this. It's super simple as far as the crochet work. It's just working around a lot of these corners and all that kind of stuff that can be a pain in the rear. But, and again, remember, if you don't want this to show, you can just simply make another flower, or you can, instead of wrapping the yarn around the back side, you can just hook it into your yarn right here, the green yarn or whatever color you've got, and then it's not going to show it all in the back. Again, I just find it more sturdy to go around it like that, and I'm only going to really be seeing this side, and it's just me anyway, so I'm not going to bother making another rose, but that's up to you. If you're making it as a gift for someone, then I would suggest doing that, or better yet, you can make a couple of those leaves I was talking about and then put those right there and have them coming out the back, and that would cover it up in a few different ways. So there you go. So have fun with it. Even just using some fun variegated yarns. Again, I didn't really like this one. I don't know, the neon red with burgundy to me just doesn't look right. But I was just making use of some yarn that somebody gave me instead of tossing it. But I do have some pretty variegateds I think would make a really nice one. Just like I did here. I did this variegated. Oh, and here's some other ideas. You can either try to make sure you have your stitching at the top of your hanger like this, but you'll have to keep readjusting it, or you can just twist it, have it be twisted. It's kind of cool that way too. So it looks like that. So however you want to do that, it's just a pretty simple project, easy to do. If you got the single crochet down, you can do it. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.